Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Tool Time. Today, all the way from sunny Miami, we have Monica Perez, and Monica is with ClearSale. Monica, tell us all about ClearSale and what problem you solve for Shopify merchants.
Thank you, Kiran. Thank you for having me. So ClearSale is a fraud management fraud prevention management service. We work globally with over 4,800 merchants in over 160 countries, and we're helping these merchants increase revenue by obviously blocking fraud, transactional fraud from being processed in their e-commerce website. But apart from that, in the process, we're making sure that real transactions are not being rejected by blocking this fraud. So in essence, we are helping them reduce those chargebacks, which is a fear of a lot of merchants, and everything that comes with the chargebacks, which is the relationship that's affected between the merchant and the payment processor, and at the same time, helping merchants provide the best experience for their customers who are trying to complete a purchase.
Got it. So how does it work? Can you give us a demo of how this would go about being installed and how it reports back and what does it do?
Absolutely. I will share my screen really quick. All right. Are you able to see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Excellent. So very quick, we are helping, as I mentioned, merchants in three major ways. One is prevent that block, that fraudulent orders from being placed in the website and being processed. Secondly, we're making sure that we are approving more orders for the merchant by making sure that these real transactions are being approved and let through. And lastly, we offer a chargeback guarantee, which gives all the merchants a peace of mind to ship that product. Let's say it's a $10,000 ring, right? So they can feel safe shipping the product internationally, anywhere they like, and they have the peace of mind that we will reimburse them if a chargeback does occur. So fraud is definitely on the rise, as we all know. We hear about it all the time with the data breaches happening. For instance, in February, there was this phone company that made news that their systems were breached, and a lot of data from their users was hacked and used, like pins. So what a lot of merchants need to understand is that that's on a high level, but that data is then sold on the dark web and then repurposed to use on websites. So they use email, any sensitive information that they acquire through phishing scams and data breaches. So that trickles down to e-commerce essentially. And obviously with COVID, we've seen, and post-pandemic, we've seen a lot of changes in buying patterns. We have a client, for instance, it's a funny story. So they last year, because of the toilet paper wars that were happening globally, what happened is that their bidet sales went up, and this tripped up their systems because it was triggering a lot of the orders as fraudulent because they saw a spike in bidet sales. So that was causing those false declines that I mentioned. And I love this iceberg analogy just to show a little bit of the impact that merchants are experiencing with fraud. On a high level, at the top of the iceberg, of course, is those chargebacks where the real credit card users are basically disputing any charge. And this is costing merchants about $9 billion in a year in impact and in loss in revenue. But something that's interesting is that false decline piece that's tied to that user experience, the marketing funnel. This is something that a lot of merchants are not aware of. And so that's why I'm happy to be here today, and thank you to show you guys this part of the impact in revenue for that e-commerce site, because it's even more than the impact of the chargebacks. And then obviously we have the poor customer experience, and this is something that's even worse. I'm sure Karen, your team works very hard to make sure merchants are providing the best customer experience. That's always top of mind, because that leads to conversions and that lifetime value of the client. so they can keep shopping. So if we lose that, that's priceless. And so, Kieran, imagine that you're shopping, and let's say you're buying those boots I saw that you liked on the Zazzle presentation, and you get this message. You put all the information, your credit card information, your billing, shipping, and then you get this error. So what would you do? What do you feel, right? And what's happening is that in a recent study, we see that around 36% of consumers typically will just leave the site and not even try a second time. And so this is affecting, and that's why it's tied to that consumer experience. And so we work very closely with Shopify, and just touching on, we all know, obviously, we work very hard to block fraud, but I wanted to touch on that, more on that consumer experience and that false decline piece to approve more orders for clients. And this is some screenshots of the Shopify forum. And you see here a lot of merchants are going to the forum and expressing their issues with false declines. They have merchants, buyers coming to them and messaging them through their customer service team or chat that they can't process an order. So we see that these merchants are investing so much money, not only to build their website, but then obviously the digital marketing aspect to drive traffic to the website and take that user through the marketing funnel and journey to have that conversion at the end. That's the end goal. So to go through that marketing funnel and then just lose the user at the checkout piece for a false decline, that's the worst thing that can happen. And then all that, those digital marketing dollars are wasted. And so some of the pain points that we hear a lot, I get asked a lot by some of our merchants is, okay, when should I implement fraud prevention, right? And I feel that fraud prevention has definitely changed in the past years because of the rise in e-commerce. It's more top of mind. And before it was something that merchants would implement if they have a fraud attempt. Now it's something that is more essential to their tech stack as soon as they launch their website. They have to be more proactive because if they're selling especially high average order value items, then one chargeback can definitely impact them. Or one loss of a $10,000 ring that I mentioned can definitely affect their bottom line. So some of the pain points that we ask merchants to definitely look out for, that they should consider implementing a fraud prevention management service, is analyzing their order approvals. So are their order approvals under 98%? And this is something that varies by vertical. So we speak to the merchant to see what vertical they're in, what countries they're selling, to see what their average order approvals rates should be. Also, chargeback rates, do they exceed 0.5%? That means that they're definitely probably overpaying in fees for their credit card processing. And that's something they want to definitely avoid because it can damage that relationship too with the credit card processing company they use. Another point is in their high risk vertical, for instance, CBD verticals, high targeted verticals such as electronics, we know that are easy to resell, jewelry, luxury items, or high average order values. So these are some key points that merchants should ask themselves. And then definitely they should need to implement some type of solution to help them manage fraud prevention. And we are in the Shopify marketplace. So we have our app there ready to go and install, very seamless. Just add the app. We send over the credentials and then it's ready to go. We give them access to our dashboard, but at the same time, we do integrate directly with Shopify's dashboard. So in Shopify's dashboard, where they see all their orders, we're able to give a status for the orders. So essentially all the orders that come into the website are analyzed in real time by ClearSale. And anything that's good to go automatically gets approved, captured by the payment processor, because ClearSale is agnostic to the payment processor. We come before. We're like essentially like a pre-filter. And then it's captured and the fulfillment process proceeds. Now, anything that's flagged as suspect, we don't decline. And this is where we really stand out in terms of getting those approval rates and up and avoiding the false declines is um, because of the rise in fraud, a lot of systems are tightening their fraud filters because they don't want the liability. They want to protect the merchant. They rather decline the transaction versus approve it and it results in a chargeback. We don't see it that way. We're in the business of approving more orders. Therefore, we give that order a second chance by having this order that was flagged as suspect go to our team of data analysts. Our team of data analysts are essentially an extension of the merchants team. They're trained analysts. We have over 1,500 analysts that do a lot of cross-referencing and looking at over 160 different fraud indicators that we work with to determine if it's a real order or a fraudulent order. And what we see is that on average, around 53% of these orders are actually approved. So we're able to bring more revenue back to the merchant. And so this is just a visual. I'm a very visual person. So we can see how it looks in the dashboard of Shopify. And these are the statuses that correspond as soon as an order comes in to the payment section. Authorized, obviously, it was authorized or pre-authorized by the bank, which means there was enough funds in the account. And expired, it means that the order was declined or canceled, but we did not void it. Voided is when the transaction is actually declined because of a fraudulent attempt. Unpaid, obviously, we accepted it and went through. But also on Shopify's fraud section, you can see that the fraud analysis, and that's where you can also see ClearSale's fraud analysis and status. So just to give an example here, as you can see, this is one of those orders where it was flagged as suspect and ClearSale is doing an analysis on the order to try to either make sure it's a real fraud or potentially it could be a real order. And yeah, essentially that's the solution in a quick high-level overview.
Yeah, really good. Hey, so just stop sharing your screen for a moment, Monica. And, I think in our pre-interview, what really got me was not the fraud prevention as much as it was about the false declines and, how much money you are leaving on the table for that. And even merchant mastery does suffer from that from time to time. We're not quite sure what that is all about. But of course, it always ruins the user experience in that process, especially if you have good credit and everything is fine. And why is this merchant declining me? So that was terrific. So where can people find you? You're in the Shopify marketplace, and what?
Yes.
Okay, and what is your website? I'm going to get you to send me all that for the show notes below, and that was terrific. We hope as you add more features to the ClearSale app that you will come back and update us in that process.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kieran. Yes. So we are at clear.sale. That's our website. We're also in the, as I mentioned, Shopify app. Just plug in ClearSale in the search bar. And I will also be sharing, Kieran, a link that has a form. So if anybody wants to reach us directly because of our relationship, they can do so. And we were happy to provide more information.
Okay, terrific. Monica Perez from ClearSale. Thank you very much.
Thank you.